Okay, so talk to me about the difficulty getting this to screen.
I mean, I think you know, there's a famous history that the film has kicked around with a bunch of different directors over 20 years, and it's been this huge thing. And we were talking about how, probably, pop culture itself, has needed a opportunity to educate itself on 15 years or 20 years of superhero movies, and now that it's come all the way to the point where the superhero movie is the movie that Hollywood makes to make money and to create a pop culture experience. And so it's kind of fitting that, like, this wave of sort of pop culture sort of love of a thing that maybe they don't even know what it is yet is going to wash over them, and they're going to end up in this theater, confronted by these crazy characters. So it's kind of cool. It's been quite an odyssey.
So what did you think of the fan reaction?
It's pretty great. I mean, you hear it and you see it. It's quite a treat, having been around the world and able to come back here to this crowd. It's a great homecoming.
Did you at all hesitate with the weight gain?
No, I mean, that was part of, it wasn't something that ZACK or anybody told me to do. It was something that I didn't do it for any other reason than really just for me, because I just thought he should look a certain way. So, I guess the trick of it was keeping it on, to be honest with you, because the suit gets pretty hot, and certainly all the physicality throughout the course of shooting, there was a tendency to lose weight, actually. So kind of keeping it on, to sort of round out Dan. We didn't want to go too drastic or anything, but enough to suggest that he had sort of just gotten a little lazy. Because I think the emotional baggage is really all that really, ZACK and I sort of talked about. And I said, I'd love to put on about 15, 20, 25 pounds wherever I end up. And he was like, great, go for it.
So talk to me about wearing the lights.
It was, ZACK didn't really bring up that part of it in our initial meeting. He's sort of like, oh, it'll be fine, dude. We're going to CGI the whole thing. You show up in pajamas, motion capture. So we might put a couple of lights on there or whatever. And then the entire process of playing Dr. Manhattan was trying to get the 1,200 LEDs to glow at the right frequency for the camera. So that was cool. Unexpected. No, it was all great. And the guys who engineered the light suit were extraordinary. This was a one-of-a-kind thing, to have such an elaborate lighting instrument, and one ultimately that they would erase from the film. I'm thoroughly impressed with what they're able to do.
So talk about changing what you needed to change in the script and what you guys decided to leave and cut.
Well, it wasn't really up to me what was changed in the script. I knew there would have to be some changes made, and I think the changes that have been made are very intelligent ones, and it's really interesting to see how material's been swapped and amalgamated. And I think, although it differs in details, the texture of the whole thing, the dramatic feeling of it, particularly the emotion of the comic book, comes over so strongly that I'm very happy with it. I think I would have been the worst person to be making those changes, because it's like, my baby, please don't touch my baby. But I'm very glad we had a sympathetic surgeon.
Yes, I did. I didn't mean to amputate its arm.
So you have a little naked shot.
Yeah, I do.
And how was that, especially after doing the weight gain?
Well, that's the exact panel. I think it's one of the most informative panels of the comic. So when Dan is standing there looking right at the costume, and it's a huge moment for him. He just has had failed sex, and so he comes downstairs and he's standing in front of the suit, and that's his identity. I mean, you don't take a role like this and not want to do that scene, because it doesn't get any clearer. Completely emotionally and physically naked, staring at the suit that is his identity. So it's a complete. That was actually one of my most favorite panels of the script, and so of the comic. So you feel like you have to do it.
So tell me about the voice. He has such a very monotone voice and very soothing voice for such a scary character.
Well, a lot of it was ZACK's idea. There's three major components to it. One is like, how engaged is he with the world? Two was ZACK's idea that somebody with this much power, living deity, would do the best he could not to intimidate everybody around him. And the third was how I was going to get my voice to resonate in a body that I had never seen, and is certainly not my own. So it was a kind of balancing act, throughout the entire making of it. And I'm sure there's a whole nother Dr. Manhattan that he could edit together based on our trial and error of finding him.
Did you ever do big scary voice for him?
We tried a little of that, but you know, Dr. Manhattan, he's not. Those guys, the ones who are, you know, sort of the blah blah blah, that kind of guy, are motivated by their own sense of morality and their own sense of like ambition. And Dr. Manhattan is, you know, he's interested in sort of esoteric, you know, things. Like, it's a gentler exploration. He doesn't want to fuck anybody up. Until, you know, he has to. But that's just for the government. That's not out of his own sense of moral ambition.
That's totally okay then.
It's not okay at all. That's the best part of it. What do you mean? This whole story is full of things that are not okay. That's why I liked it. I mean, you can't write a comic book where you give all of the godlike properties to a dude who doesn't care.
Are there any little touches here and there that you felt had to be in?
Oh, I guess, I mean, there's a lot of little touches that had to be in, whether it be, you know, just the stacks of Under the Hood on Hollis's bookshelf, you know, the ones he hasn't sold yet, or the, you know, all the different pictures of Sally that she has in her own house. Just stuff like that, you know, I think is I mean, there's tons of stuff like that, but that's the kind of that was fun to do.
I think it's going to be really interesting when the DVD comes out. You know, you'll be able to step through this frame by frame, like people do with the graphic novel. They read it for the story, then they go back for the details.
How cool was the owl ship?
Pretty great. Yeah, I mean, the detail that went into that is just certainly unbelievable. It was really amazing, the amount of work that they did, and, you know, down to the copy of Under the Hood and the little picture of Hollis, and, you know, all sorts of little gadgets and stuff that you want close-ups of everything so people know all the work that went into it, because it really is just the most detailed. You feel like it should fly. You get in there and you go, this is real. I'm sorry, this is real. So right down to the coffee maker in the back.
On IMDb, one of the fans said that you should have been Batman.
I have asked my mom to stop writing it into IMDb for over 10 years now, but you know what? Some habits die hard.
Aw, thanks, Mom. Say thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Ma.